So hi, good afternoon. All good? नो भी होगा तो कुछ हो नहीं सकता है. कितने लोगों को लग रहा है कि बारिश हो जाएगी आज? नहीं, सुबह में लग रहा था बट अभी तो नहीं लग रहा है. Just give me 1 minute. So we are meeting after the exam. ठीक है, एग्जाम के बाद पेपर देख लिया. So how you find it? Can't say anything. ठीक है, that will be a better answer. Can't say anything because obviously that since you haven't studied all the subjects, so you can't say anything. If you have studied, then only you can say. But then I was very elated. तुम्हारे बैच से उस दिन पहले, ठीक है, जस्ट आई थिंक फ्राइडे को जब क्लास थी तो मॉर्निंग में मतलब सेम बैच इज गोइंग ऑन, एक सेम टॉपिक, एक दो टॉपिक तुम लोग आगे पीछे हो. आई वॉज टीचिंग दिम परमानेंट सेटलमेंट रायतवाड़ी महलवारी. मैंने बोला कि ये आ रहा है and then the question came. So I was elated that it came. And then after also, I created those 20 minute video, 3 videos, एग्जाम के एक हफ्ते पहले. उससे 3 टॉपिक आए थे, ठीक है. तो साल भर पढ़ो एक तरफ और लास्ट में जो मैंने प्रेडिक्ट किया उससे 4 क्वेश्चंस, ठीक है. तो 1.5 घंटे में 4 क्वेश्चन. कोशिश करूंगा कि तुम्हारे टाइम पे और अच्छे से करूँ प्रेडिक्ट. थोड़ा इस बार मेरे पास टाइम कम था बिकॉज आई वॉज व्हेन आई क्रिएटेड दोज वीडियोज, सो आई वॉज इन बैंगलोर, विजन्स बैंगलोर सेंटर. सो वॉजंट गेटिंग टाइम टू क्रिएट दोज थिंग्स एंड देन फर्दर आई वॉन्टेड टू एड फ्यू मोर टॉपिक्स और वो आए भी, ठीक है. फिर बाद में मुझे अफसोस हो रहा था कि आई कुड हैव क्रिएटेड एटलीस्ट आई वुड हैव सेड इन वन वीडियो दैट कि ये पढ़ लेना, ये आ रहा है. तो दिस परमानेंट सेटलमेंट ऑल्सो एंड सो एज दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर शांति निकेतन, गरबा, होयसला टेम्पल कॉम्प्लेक्स, एवरीथिंग हैज बीन आस्क्ड इन द पेपर. भगवान करे ऐसे ही मेरे जुबान पे सरस्वती रहें और तुम लोग के एग्जाम क्लियर हो जाए. तो चलो आगे चलते हैं. व्हाट वी हैव स्टडीड लास्ट टाइम, क्या था लास्ट वाला बताओ? 1813 तक. तो विल स्टार्ट विद द 1833. सो चार्टर एक्ट ऑफ 1833 से स्टार्ट करना है. So already we mentioned about the Charter Act of the 1813, or in Charter Act of the 1813 what we have mentioned, end of the company's monopoly of trade in India, however company retained in monopoly in the tea trade. And then after what we talked about, uske alawa 1 lakh rupees which was allocated for the education but it was not made available. But this discussion will once again happen when we are going to read about the topic development of education during the British period. So let's look at the 1833. So in 1833, the foremost thing that they have done, though the company's charter has been renewed for 20 years, but company monopoly completely ended. अब जो बचा था वो भी end हो गया. And what was remaining? Tea trade and so as the trade with China. So now it completely ended. Then the second thing, company was asked to wind up its commercial operations as soon as possible. ठीक है? So company was asked to wind up its commercial operation as soon as possible, though the company was allowed to retain its political administration, but it was held under the name of Her Majesty. What does it mean? That what is political administration or political territory? The area that they are winning, ठीक है? They have won and they are getting the payment from that. So for example, Bengal से क्या मिलता है? Revenue, ठीक है? And Diwani right. So as from the other areas also, Mysore and these Maratha area also, so they have annexed. So they can administer that area, but that area is held under the name of Her Majesty, meaning that any time if the British Queen or Crown wants, so वो भी right छीन लिया जाएगा. That right would also be snatched. So that is the second part. Then third is that formally, ठीक है, the colonization of India was legalized. ठीक है? So from here onwards, 1833 onwards, anyone can from Britain can come settle in India. ठीक है? So the formal legalization started, colonization of the India started from 1833. Then there are n number of the provisions. Out of all the Charter Act or the acts that we are studying right now, it is the most important. Then, so इसमें now understand वन लेजिस्लेटिव मेंबर, अब ध्यान से समझना, ठीक है, इन द गवर्नर जनरल एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल वन लेजिस्लेटिव मेंबर वाज टू बी एडेड, डन, and the purpose of this legislative member was for the rule making. So rule making, and moreover he was the temporary member, he was to be the temporary member of the council. His purpose is only rule making. Now when we say anybody is temporary member of the council, so temporary का मतलब क्या होता है? Any idea in the terms of polity, or that in terms of the technological words of the polity? He will be, he would fixed period of time, but then वैसे permanent members भी fixed period of time होते हैं. Who said cannot vote? Yes, cannot vote. He cannot vote in the council. Rest of the members can vote, but he will not vote. He can give his opinion, ठीक है? It can be counted, it can be not counted, but he cannot vote. Then, so that is there. And the first member, law member of the council was Macaulay, ठीक है? And इसके बाद से Macaulay का name becomes very common in the history. Then time and again we'll be taking his name. So थोड़ा सा लिखो, mention. Number one, it renewed the company's charter. It renewed the company's charter for next 20 years. It renewed the company's charter for next 20 years. But it completely ended. But it completely ended companies' monopoly of trade. Completely ended companies' monopoly of trade from India and China. India and China. Done? Then number two, you write. Company was asked to wind up. Company was asked to wind up its commercial operations. Company was asked to wind up its commercial operations as soon as possible. Its commercial operations as soon as possible. However, company was allowed to retain its political territory. Company was allowed to retain its political territory and administer it. Comma, and administer it, comma, but it was held in the name of Her Majesty. It was held in the name of Her Majesty. Then, लिख लिया? Third point you write, mention. It formally legalized colonization of India. It formally legalized colonization of India by Europeans. Colonization of India by Europeans. Here European is in the sense of the British. ठीक है? Then next you write, next point, fourth. It added one law member. It added one law member or legislative expert in Governor General's Council. In Governor General's Council. Law member or legislative expert in Governor General Council. his work was entirely rule making. His work was entirely rule making, and he was not entitled as the permanent member. He was not entitled as the permanent member of the council. चाहो तो ब्रैकेट्स में लिख लो, नो राइट टू वोट. नो राइट टू वोट. ठीक है. Now listen. So after this, the law member part, the next part was that it also, अच्छा नहीं add करो पहले. Just one more thing you read. Macaulay was the first law member of the council. Macaulay was the first law member of the council. Done? Now listen. So it said, it maintained that there must be establishment of the Indian Law Commission. Okay? So Indian Law Commission, and the purpose of the Indian Law Commission is basically to write the Indian Penal Code and so as the Civil Code and Criminal Procedure Code. So IPC, CRPC, this all to be written down. Now it was all written down, and by 1860s it was all implemented. So this year only, year 24, so this year only na, in the beginning of the year, what was the news? That Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, ठीक है? So this is the new name, and now these old names have been disregarded, ठीक है? So अभी सब combine करके it is known as the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. So it is in the news. अब prelims में तो नहीं पूछा, ठीक है? But generally tendency of UPSC is that, you know, when you are expecting a current ka question, ठीक है, in the same year, they don't ask in the same year. They will ask 2 years after 2 years, ठीक है? तो so then when, and it has happened n number of the time. In fact, एक साल में तो कई बार they have asked the question of the only one question would be there in the paper, but that is the current news of 5 year back. ठीक है? So that becomes very tricky. Obviously, for one information, you cannot go back to the 5 year current affairs. वो भी कोई गारंटी नहीं है कि जो तुमने 5 year पहले का पढ़ा है वो आ ही रहा है. So it's advised that not to go, but then current year के जो current affairs होते हैं, generally they are asked in the science tech involvement, ठीक है, ये सब sections culture में भी पूछते हैं, ठीक है. So let's come back to this part. So understand. So IPC and CRPC was codified as per the Law Commission, and first Law Commission chairman once again was the Macaulay, ठीक है. Then after it, Section 87 of the Act, it provided for education and employment of Indians in the British realm, then or in the British services. So it further said that there would be no discrimination on the basis of caste, creed, race and religion and place of birth while providing employment or giving education, ठीक है. So this is what it is said. एक और चीज था, इसको confusing मत बनाना, ध्यान से समझना, ठीक है. It further said that the Haileybury College, have I mentioned anywhere? अभी नहीं mention किया है. नहीं, I have mentioned in civil services. Civil services अभी किया ही नहीं है, ठीक है. There was one college which was created, ठीक है, in London for the civil servants. Then, and the name of the college was the Haileybury College. So it said that Haileybury College can create the formula of entry of Indians, ठीक है, for in the civil services, but it was disrespected. It was not taken seriously. So recommendation was there in 1833 only, but it was not taken seriously. It was not implemented. फिर बाद में recommendation आएगा 1853 में, that will be implemented. ठीक है? Then, so it is the section 87 of the act. Then apart from it, another very major change in this particular act was Governor General of India position. So now Governor General of Bengal, he was designated as Governor General of India. This was the last year question, prelims mein. And who was the first Governor General? William Bentinck. So William Bentinck was the first Governor General in 1833. Now you can ask a question, ki earlier when we were talking about the Governor General of Bengal, he was also responsible for Bombay, Madras, everywhere. ठीक है, तो why not to call him Governor General of India? Why we are calling William Bentinck at this point of time as Governor General of India? The reason is, for any, India is not just Bengal, Bombay and Madras. India is an entire subcontinent. There are many regions in it. And so by the time when they were controlling these areas of the Bombay, Bengal and Madras in 1773, so that point of time, they were hardly controlling 15 to 20% area of India. So you can't say anybody who is controlling 15 to 20% area of India as the Governor General of India. But then William Bentinck, by this point of time, what all areas are under his control? Bengal, Carnatic, Mysore, Maratha. Okay? These all are under control. Near about 70% area of India. So now it is better to call Governor General of India. In fact, there were many other things also related to it, that why he was called as Governor General of India, because he was made more powerful at this point of time. So we'll talk about it, कि what was the powers which were given to him. So एक बार लिखो, mention करो. Last one, Indian Law Commission से लिखना है, ठीक है? So what is the point? 4 or 5th? 6th, ठीक है? तो 6th है, तो 6 लिख लो. But I think it is 5th. मैकॉले वाला तुम लोगों ने उसको 5th कर दिया है, ठीक है? The 5th point you write. It called for establishment of or creation of. It called for creation of first law commission. It called for creation of first law commission to codify Indian Penal Code, Civil and Criminal Procedure Code. Indian Penal Code, Civil and Criminal Procedure Code. Full stop. Accordingly, First Law Commission was created under the chairmanship of Macaulay. First Law Commission was created under chairmanship of Macaulay. Full stop. Then mention Section 87. Section 87 of the Act provided for education and employment of Indians. Then mention education and employment of Indians. It further maintained there would be no discrimination. On the basis of religion, caste, place of birth, race, in the matters of employment. देखो, सबसे पहली बात होनी चाहिए सुनना. लिसनिंग इज फर्स्ट. जैसे बिना लिसन के ही तुम लोग लिखने पड़ जाते हो. अगर जो दिमाग में एक बार, जैसे मैंने बोला ना, मैं 4 बार रिपीट करता हूँ, ठीक है? सो कोई एक बार सुन लो, इसलिए मैं 4 बार रिपीट करता हूँ कि एक बार सुन लो, तो देन यू विल नॉट हैव टू सी इन द कॉपीज ऑफ अदर्स, ठीक है? मेनी ऑफ यू आर सीइंग इन द कॉपीज ऑफ अदर, ठीक है? एंड प्रॉब्लम विथ मी इज दैट सी आई फ्रेम इट, ठीक है? तो एग्जैक्टली मैं दोबारा रिपीट करूंगा थोड़ी देर के बाद, तो एग्जैक्टली सेम सेंटेंस नहीं होगा. सेंटेंस विल चेंज. सो डेवलप दिस हैबिट दैट पहले सुन लो, देन यू राइट. एंड आई डेफिनेटली आई रिपीट इट 3-4 टाइम्स, ठीक है? सो व्हाट आई हैव मेंशन्ड, एक बार फिर से मैं रिपीट कर देता हूँ. जिसका छूट गया है, यू राइट इट. सो आई मेंशन्ड It further maintained that there would be no discrimination on the basis of religion, caste, place of birth, race in the matters of employment. Done? Then next point you write. It designated Governor General of Bengal. It designated Governor General of Bengal as Governor General of India. Governor General of India. Then mention William Bentinck was the first Governor General. William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. Then first Governor General of India. Now listen. So there are more provisions. अब दूसरा ये था कि बंगाल हैज़ बिकम टू बिग, ठीक है, एंड बाय दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम द टेरिटरी ऑफ बंगाल इंक्लूडेड एंटायर उत्तर प्रदेश ऑल्सो. सो व्हाट दे हैव डन दैट दे बाइफर्केटेड आगरा फ्रॉम द बंगाल, ठीक है. So one local government of the Agra was created from the by bifurcating the Bengal. Then apart from it, as far as the Governor General is concerned, so what all powers were given to him? So all the powers were centralized in the hand of the Governor General William Bentinck and his council. He can repeal, amend or alter any law or regulation. I hope you understand this word repeal. Repeal का क्या मतलब होता है? You understand? Then some provisions from the constitution you repeal मतलब पूरी तरह से खत्म हो गया. Amend चेंज हो गया. ऑल्टर भी चेंज होता है, ठीक है. सो अमेंडमेंट में कुछ ऐड हो सकता है, कुछ डिलीट हो सकता है, एंड ऑल्टर इज द चेंज, ऑल्टरेशन. सो ही कैन रिपील, अमेंड और ऑल्टर एनी लॉ और रेगुलेशन. देन द ओनली पीपल हु कैन डिसअप्रूव हिज एक्शन आर द कोर्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स, देन हु आर वर्किंग अंडर द supervision of the board of control, ठीक है. But generally what happened during the tenure of the William Bentinck, none of his decisions were disapproved and he was the most powerful governor general till this date. So this is one part. Then another thing, that this act called for upliftment of slaves in India. It's a very kind of misguided term. Upliftment of slaves in India. Is it good or bad? Depends, ठीक है. गुड तो है नहीं, पूछो क्यों. What is good? If you abolish slavery, you are calling for the upliftment of slave. What is upliftment of slave is a very relative term. So for example, that what you can consider upliftment. Suppose that earlier the slaves were allowed to sleep only 6 hours and now they will be allowed 6 hours 15 minutes. This is upliftment, ठीक है. But is it the real development? The real thing or good thing would be the abolition of the slavery. But we need to discuss a little bit more over here that why British will never abolish slavery. क्यों? One thing, obviously they never abolish because it is functional to them. But in what ways it is functional to them? And how slavery has shaped the world politics so as the world economy. Chalo, I'll ask different question to you, related to it only. If there would not have been slavery, so colonialism would not have existed, it would not have survived. Because with the slavery, they are running a economy of the exploitation. So now, tell me, I'm going into the different question. Tell me, the crops which are the symbol, of the slavery, and rank it from 1 to 4. So first crop which is the best symbol of the slavery. Cotton, ठीक है. Indigo. Then who said sugar? Raise your hand. Yeah, raise your hand. चलो ठीक है. Then apart from sugar, which one? Banana. Countries are called as banana republic. Then so answer is sugar. ठीक है. So sugarcane industry, and so as I'll tell you one by one, sugarcane and chocolate comes to the number 1. ठीक है. So let me tell you something about the sugarcane and chocolate. Does sugarcane grows in Europe? No. No. It will not happen in Europe. ठीक है. आज के टाइम पे जो हो रहा है वो अलग है, ठीक है, because of the scientific development, but it cannot happen in Europe. And sugarcane is the plantation of the tropical areas. What are the tropical areas? जहाँ रेन होती है, ठीक है, जैसे आजकल नहीं हो रही है. So अभी किसी ने इस पे लिखा कि सर इट इज रेनिंग आउटसाइड, इसलिए मैं बाहर देखा, ठीक है, झूठ. So so now sugarcane is a plantation of the tropical areas जहाँ पे monsoons में काफी रेन होता है, because sugarcane is a water intensive plant. And it is totally 18-month cycle is required for the sugarcane. So 18 months में कुछ महीनों तक पूरे तरह से पानी में आधा ढका होना चाहिए, ठीक है. half of the sugarcane must be there in the water. Then so sugarcane is mainly meant for the eastern UP, it is meant for the Bihar, it is meant for the Odisha, so as West Bengal, entire northeast, then coastal area and पूरा coastal India, Western Ghat and Eastern Ghat. Then so there sugarcane cultivation can happen, and so as in the Indonesia, Philippines, then all the island nations, Mauritius, ठीक है, Maldives, these all areas sugarcane can happen, ठीक है. But then what British have done, that see what culture we had earlier before the arrival of the colonials, ठीक है. So we have our natural sugars, ठीक है. हम sugarcane का sugar use नहीं करते थे. What we were using the good khand, ठीक है, then palm sugar, ठीक है, and coconut jaggery. Then so these were the sugars that we were using historically. But then British and the Europeans, they have revolutionized the world in another way, and sugarcane production started. So what we eat today, that is a processed sugar, and processed sugar goes through the process of the sulfurization. That's how it becomes harmful. Then but the khand, good, ठीक है, these all were not harmful. They have introduced it because the color seems good. तुम भी कभी शुगर खरीदने जाते हो तो जो ज़्यादा चमक रहा होता है वही खरीदते हैं, मैं भी वही करता हूँ, तुम्हें क्यों बोलूँ, ठीक है. But then despite knowing, ठीक है, that what are the lacunas in it, but then sugarcane, why it was necessary? The another interconnected industry with the sugarcane was the this particular chocolate industry. So chocolate is made from what? Cocoa, ठीक है. So cocoa pods. And cocoa pods, so cocoa pods, which country cocoa that cocoa happens, ठीक है. और basically पूछा था इस साल, अभी क्वेश्चन में था ना, दो क्वेश्चन बता रहा हूँ जो मेरी क्लासेस में ऐसे ही नॉर्मल डिस्कशन से आया हुआ है, ठीक है. एक तो कैश्यू, रिमेंबर पहली क्लास वी मेंशन ना, एंड दे हैव आस्क्ड दैट व्हिच इज द नेटिव टू इंडिया, कैश्यू इज नॉट नेटिव टू इंडिया. कितना डिस्कशन किया हमने. तो जस्ट जो बहुत सारी कहानियां हम लोग डिस्कस करते हैं ना, अगर जो वो भी थोड़ा बहुत याद रहा तो क्वेश्चन आराम से सॉल्व कर लोगे, ठीक है. So, and what about the red sanders? Is it native to India? It is native to India. Pushpa देखा है, ठीक है. Pushpa has said that it is native to India. Then, because it grows in the red sanders, grows in that particular very inner areas of the forest, and it is a dreaded place also, क्योंकि वहाँ snakes बहुत होते हैं. And actually, it is red sanders. The temperature of it is very low. Then it is the property of the sandalwood, then that temperature is very low, and that's how all the time the snakes are surrounding this, that they are closer to this tree. So that's why it is very dreaded. Then so अब दिल्ली में भी जरूरत है रेड सैंडर्स की इस टाइम पे, जाके हम लोग लिपट जाएं. So so now understand. So if you have seen, देखो in this exam ना, you have to open your eyes and ears, क्योंकि not all the time that what you have mugged up उससे क्वेश्चन सॉल्व हो जाएगा. अगर जो थोड़े अवेयर हो ना, यू आर ट्रैवलिंग, यू आर सीइंग द थिंग्स एंड देन यू आर पिकिंग अप द थिंग्स फ्रॉम देयर, so then definitely it will be easier walk in this exam. So for example, that even if you are eating a new biscuit, just read it ना, क्या लिखा हुआ है. I'll tell you one question which was asked. एक साल एक क्वेश्चन था about the aspartame. Aspartame, you know, it is mixed in the all the cold drinks, ठीक है, Pepsi, ठीक है, Thumbs Up, Coca-Cola. And on the bottle itself, it is always written that aspartame is how much sweeter than the sugar. So this was the exactly question. One year they asked about that they gave the name of the devices, ठीक है, and these devices, and they asked you to arrange according to the frequency. So for example, दिया हुआ था that infrared devices. Then so what is infrared devices? यहाँ दिख ही नहीं रहा है, ठीक है. The remote controls are infrared devices, any remote control. So this is infrared. Then what is this one? This is Bluetooth, ठीक है. तो इसका Bluetooth ये यहाँ पे कहीं लगा होगा, ठीक है, it must be there, और इसमें भी लगा होगा. So this is Bluetooth device. Then they gave microwave, ठीक है. So ये तीनों को, चारों को इसमें क्या करना था? You needed to arrange it according to the frequency. And generally when you will be studying साइंस एंड टेक या जब भी पढ़ते हो, तो फोटोक्रोम में दैट एवरी टीचर विल बी डूइंग दैट, दे विल बी गिविंग यू फ्रिक्वेंसी रेंज कि इंफ्रारेड कब होगा, इंफ्रारेड के बाद यूवी, एंड देन व्हाट ऑल माइक्रोवेव, मैक्रोवेव. सो इफ यू रिमेंबर दैट एंड यू रिमेंबर दैट रिमोट में, किसी भी रिमोट में इंफ्रारेड होता है, तो यू कैन अरेंज इट, गेटिंग इट. बट यू विल नॉट बी फाइंडिंग एग्जैक्ट आंसर की किसी भी किताब में दैट इट इज इट गिवन, नो. They will not say to you कि ये जो AC का remote है, that is the frequency of it. Nowhere it is given. So it is your awareness. 1 year, it is my exam only, I'll tell you. So they asked, in the paper it was asked, that the amount of the current that flows in the tube light of 220 volt, something as written. So now, it was a difficult question for all of us, that how much ampere of the current flows in a tube light. So then I happened to see one of my friend, luckily he was just closer to me, and then he stood up and then he went somewhere, and then after he came back and then he said to me, ये आंसर है, लिख ले. So I was like, कि तुम्हें कैसे इतना conviction है? So he said कि वॉशरूम में गया था, ट्यूबलाइट उतार के देख लिया. So अब सब कोई इतना लकी तो नहीं हो सकते हो, ठीक है? तो रिमोट लेके तो वॉशरूम में नहीं जाओगे. So you need to be aware about it. एक और year, अभी हाल फिलहाल का है, it is I think around 2013-14. The question was asked that Kit Kat packets, Kit Kat chocolate, and on Kit Kat chocolate that Chandipur on beach, ठीक है, Chandipur on sea. This was what was explanation, and then after the explanation was given about all the beaches of India. Exactly वही information उठा के पूछ लिया UPSC ने. Then if you are aware about it, if you have seen in that year, so then you can easily solve it. So this exam is not about a lot of mugging up, but बहुत कुछ आराम से ऐसे भी solve कर सकते हो. Now coming to the cocoa pods, and this discussion I'm doing from last 2 years, particularly cocoa wala, I was happy to see it. So can you tell me the country where the maximum production of the Ghana and Cote d'Ivory, Cote d'Ivory, दोनों अगल बगल की countries हैं, ठीक है? So Cote d'Ivory and Ghana. Ghana is known for the biggest production of the cocoa pods, but then Ghana, now it is a very rich country. In Africa, it is a rich country, and then moreover, it is known for the English colonization also. English is a very popular language over there in the Ghana. But then Ghana has gone into the one of the severest history of the slavery. The reason is coffee. So the cocoa pods which are cultivated over there, it is a labor intensive. तो कैसे chocolate बनता है, I'll tell you, ठीक है? Cocoa pod, some of you must have seen if you have been to the Western Ghats. So this much shape, ठीक है? थोड़ा बड़ा होता है, that both the hands you collect, and then double size of it. Then moreover, all the fruits are cut, then they are kept at one place. After it, open में ही रखते हैं, ठीक है? After some days, inner fermentation is happening, and then after, a very foul smell emerges from it. Nobody can tolerate it. So slaves will be segregating it, ठीक है? And now they will be breaking the cocoa pods, ठीक है? So now after breaking it, after so much of tolerating that intoxicating smell, then after once again the seeds are collected, once again they are left for fermentation, ठीक है? And the seed fermentation, after it, once again the foul smell, they will be cleaning it, ठीक है? So they will be cleaning it, and then after cleaning it, it goes for the roasting, ठीक है? So it goes for the drying purpose. So once it is dried in Ghana, then it will be sent to Switzerland, okay? Or any of the countries of the Europe which are known for the chocolate. So there, what they will be doing, they will be, the dried cocoa seeds would be roasted, okay? And roasting according to the type of the chocolate, 55%, 70%, 80%, and that's how they will be roasting. So medium roasting, light roasting, high roasting, okay? Different categories, and then it is mixed with the milk and the sugar. Okay, that's how the chocolate. So it is an integrated industry. So main purpose in the beginning of the processed sugar was to chocolate. Then, and for chocolate, they continued the slavery in a rampant way. But then many other plantations emerged where the slavery was rampant. So for example, tea industry, coffee industry, tea plantation, coffee plantation. Okay? So in these all plantation, and so as in the mining, okay? Particularly in the South Africa, British colony, and South Africa was known for the coal mining, and so as the diamond mining, okay, and gold mining. So for these all purpose, slavery was very much required. And actually, these countries which are now developed, they developed on the, okay, life of the slaves. Then, so it would have been better if British called abolition of slavery rather than upliftment of slaves. Then, There is no term like upliftment of slave. You cannot uplift a slave. You can end the slavery, not uplift. So that's how बेवकूफ बनाना इसको बोलते हैं, ठीक है? Then another. So now I hope you understood. So main crop responsible is the sugar cane and the coffee. उसके बाद then नहीं, sugar cane and cocoa, then the coffee, then the tea plantation. And indigo or इसमें cotton में, they are not the new world plants. They are old world plants. There is no instance of slavery. Okay? There is other thing associated with the cotton and indigo that we'll see in the near future. Okay? Near future नहीं, in upcoming classes. So लिखो अभी, mention करो. What was the last one? William Bentinck only you have written. तो William Bentinck के बाद लिखो. He was the most powerful Governor General. He was the most powerful Governor General till this date. Till this date. Done? Then mention all the political and financial powers. All the political and financial power were given to Governor General and his council. Given to Governor General and his council. Then he can repeal, alter or amend. He can repeal, alter or amend any law or regulation. Any law or regulation. Any law or regulation. Full stop. Then mention in the same statement you are adding after full stop. His actions can only be disapproved by. His actions can only be disapproved by Court of Directors. Court of Directors who were acting under supervision of Board of Control. Acting under supervision of Board of Control. Done? Then next point you write. It created the local government of Agra. It created the local government of Agra by separating from Bengal. By separating from Bengal. Separating from Bengal. Next. It called for upliftment of slaves. It called for upliftment of slaves in India. It called for upliftment of slaves in India. Ninth. So लिख लो, then I'll explain. Mention. Next point. It further said, while drafting any law, rules related to Indian marriage, and the rights of heads of families, must be taken into consideration. Rights of heads of families must be taken into consideration. Then, so now what is the meaning of the last thing that you have written? कि कोई भी लॉ बनाते वक्त when they are creating any law, so then two things must be taken care. एक तो rules related to the Indian marriage and so as the rights of the heads of Indian family. What does it mean? Generally, the Indian family situation was joint family situation, and in joint family there is always a jeshthak. Jeshthak means that head of the family, who is basically eldest male member of the family. So he exercises some of the rights, so that right must be respected while drafting any law. So this is what they have called at this point of time. एक क्लास में नोट लिखो, राइट अ नोट. नोट में लिखो, it recommended that Haileybury College, you can see the spelling of Haileybury College. Haileybury College in Britain must create a scheme of quota. Must create a scheme of quota to include future Indian civil servants. To include future Indian civil servants. Servants, full stop. Then mention, but this suggestion was disregarded. Then, so now we will write about importance of the Charter Act of the 1833. So mention a title. Importance of Charter Act of 1833. So now listen, what is the importance? So first of all, this act is often said as the watershed moment in the British Indian history. Why it is watershed moment? Because very first reason it is said that it has led to the centralization of the Indian administration, for good or bad. Okay? That it has led to the centralization. But then understand, what do we mean by centralization? All the powers getting concentrated in the hands of few officials. And whenever the power is concentrated in the hands of few officials, what becomes fast? Decision making. Okay? So decision making becomes fast, and then there are no delays in the decisions. Then, so in that way it was beneficial. When we talk about the today's situation, okay, we often need, sometime we need authoritative government and sometime we need liberal governments also. For a long tenure, authoritative governments are not useful, and for a long tenure, the government of the coalition politics are also not good, because it leads to no development. Coalition politics leads to only coalition politics. Then, and accommodation, ठीक है? And what is accommodation? मेरे में से 4 को रख लीजिए, उनके में से 2 को रख लीजिए, मेरा speaker बना दीजिए और मेरा ये बना दीजिए. So that is one. But then what happens in the coalition politics, that freedom of speech is restored. But when the authoritative governments are there, so infrastructure developments happens in a very fast way. So creation of the roads, creation of the infrastructure, creation of the buildings, creation of the Pragati Maidan, so many things, okay, that happens in a very rapid pace. Then, so it's good for the country's economy. But then what happens? The freedom of speech is curtailed. So see, what is the reality? That it must be a mixture of it. Sometime for authoritative system and sometime for the liberal system. I'll tell you, one such word of one very famous politician in 1950s. So he was the founder of the Samajwadi Party. You know whom? Nahi, Mulayam Singh Yadav is not the founder. It is Ram Manohar Lohia. ठीक है? They are तो वो फायदा मिल गया. But then Ram Manohar Lohia said a very important thing. ठीक है? कि हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ. What was his statement? ठीक है? कि लोकतंत्र is just like a roti. ठीक है? दोनों तरफ बराबर सिकते रहिए. ठीक है? आपका काम चलता रहेगा. You got it? So meaning, See that ki wherever matlab na equal chances or equal opportunity is given to, or basically that when you keep changing your governments, then so it is your benefit, but you keep running with one of your government, so then may not be your benefit. So that's what he said. I'm not saying. So here authoritativeness was required. Okay? In 1833, what is the reason? So reason is authoritativeness was required because when, you know, one of the loophole of the kind of too much of democracy is कि सब कोई शासक बन जाता है, everyone becomes an expert, and when everybody has an opinion, so it is said too many cooks spoils the broth. Then so this is what happens. So sometimes the autocratic decision making is very required. Then and in Indian scenario also, there are hundreds and hundreds of the monarchies at this point of time. So if there would not have been centralized power, so British would not have consolidated it at the one place. So in that regard, it is said that centralization of the Indian administration was beneficial at this time. Then understand one more thing which we see in this particular act is that this act was indicative that company is losing its relevance in India. Then company is losing its relevance in India, and then moreover, for the first time this act recognized that there must be separation of the work. Okay? And what is the separation of work? Legislative member was included in executive council. And what was his purpose? Rule making. And what is, I hope you understand what is executive, what is legislative, what is judiciary. Okay? So this is the separation of work. So first time they are recognizing that there must be separation of work, and in the next act they will be further building on it. So एक बार लिखो, mention करो. You write. It was the watershed moment. It was watershed moment in the Indian history. Watershed moment in the Indian history. Then mention. It led to centralization. It led to centralization of Indian administration. Centralization of Indian administration. Which further led to political and administrative unification. Which further led to political and administrative unification. Which further led to political and administrative unification. Done? Then next point you write. This act made it clear. This act made it clear that company is losing its relevance in India. Company is losing its relevance in India. Number 3. For the first time, it was mentioned. For the first time, it was mentioned that Indians would be included in administration. Without any discrimination. Without any discrimination. Done? Then mention further. Fourth likho. Without any discrimination. And for the first time, separation of work was recognized. For the first time, separation of work was recognized. For example, law expert for legislation. law or legal expert, you can say, legal expert for legislation. For legislation. Done. So that's about the Charter Act of the 1833. Done. Then let's come to Charter Act of 1853. So this is the last of the Charter Act, और इसके बाद then obviously the revolt happened, so that led to the change in the entire administration. So Charter Act of the 1853, now understand, it renewed the company's charter, but no timeline is fixed. For the first time, no timeline is fixed. बस renew कर दिया, time नहीं बताया, ठीक है? That till what time it will continue. We'll discuss later on that what is the impact of it. Then after, the Governor General Executive Council, in which there was one law member. अब क्या हुआ? That now a separate Governor General Legislative Council was created. So Executive Council is already there, and a separate Governor General Legislative Council was created with 6 new members. Then, so now this will be indicative of separation of power. ठीक है? Separation of power. So executive function, execution of the policy, and legislative function, creation of the policy. So legislative branch will create the policy, executive branch will execute the policy. ठीक है? So that's what separation. Then after, there are other changes also. So the 24 court of directors, now their numbers were reduced to 18. Then, so their numbers were reduced to 18, and out of these 18 members, 6 were to be nominated by the British Crown. So पहले all of them were, they were election process, ठीक है? Shareholders of the company were electing them, but now 6 will be nominated. Now understand, it started the system of the local representation in the Governor General Legislative Council. So system of local representation in the Governor General Legislative Council, understand, the 6 new members who will be there in the Legislative Council, 4 of them were to be taken from the local governments of that time. So what does it mean? Local government का मतलब ये है कि Indians would be incorporated, or does it mean something else? Indians will be incorporated, does it mean? No. So don't get confused with the word local government. It does not mean Indians will be included. अब ध्यान से समझना. The local governments are, there are 4 local governments: Bombay Presidency, then Madras Presidency, Bengal, and what else? 33 में क्या बना था? आगरा. ठीक है? So from these all presidencies, one member would be chosen. ठीक है? So one member would be chosen from these all presidencies. इसमें भी एक शर्त थी. There was a eligibility criteria over here, that only those people could be nominated from these areas who have completed at least 10 year, minimum 10 year in the service of the company, then only they can be nominated. 9 साल है, they cannot be nominated. ठीक है? More than 10 is fine, but less than 10 is not fine. So mention, right? Number 1, it renewed the charter of company. It renewed the charter of company but for the first time did not fixed any time limit. But for the first time did not fixed any time limit. Done? Then mention number 2. It created a separate Governor General Legislative Council. It created a separate Governor General Legislative Council with 6 new members. Third, it started the system It started the system of local representation. It started the system of local representation in Governor General's Legislative Council. In Governor General's Legislative Council. Full stop के बाद you add in the same statement. Out of the 6 new members, 4 were to be added from the local governments of Bombay, Madras, Bengal and Agra. Full stop. Then further add. The condition was nominated members must have completed 10 years, minimum 10 years in the service of Mughal monarch. Sorry, in the service of British East India Company, not Mughal monarch. सुबह में Mughal monarch पढ़ा के आ रहा हूँ. So right, British East India Company. So this is what we have discussed now. 18 members and 24 court of directors will write, but further you listen. So that is one part, but then one of the very important part of this particular Charter Act was that it recommended that there must be creation, okay? That covenanted civil services must be thrown open to Indians, okay? And civil services at that point of time was known as covenanted civil services, so must be thrown open to Indians. And in this regard, Macaulay committee was constituted to create the syllabus, okay? And now the exam would be conducted, and on the basis of the performance, some of the Indians will be included. So what was the earlier system? Earlier it was not an exam-based system. Earlier it was a covenanted system. Covenanted का मतलब होता है agreement based system. So whereby the application were released, and after the application those who have applied, so उनकी screening होती थी, ठीक है? After the screening, interviews are happening, and then after they are appointed. So that was the system earlier, before 1853. Now after this particular recommendation, finally Macaulay committee was constituted for the purpose, which created the scheme of exam. And actually in reality in 1860s it was thrown open to Indians. So who cleared the exam for the first time? Satyendra Nath Tagore. Okay? So Satyendra Nath Tagore was the first Indian to clear this exam in 1864, and the second Indian to clear this exam was Surendranath Banerjee. Likho, mention karo. So it reduced the number of court of directors. It reduced the number of court of directors from 24 to 18. From 24 to 18. Then mention, out of which 6 were to be nominated by the British Crown. Out of which 6 were to be nominated by British Crown. Then mention, after it you write British Crown, full stop. What is the point number? 4th, 5th likho. It called for recruitment of Indians in civil services, recruitment of Indians in civil services, in ऐसे लिखना covenanted civil services, recruitment of Indians in covenanted covenanted civil services. Then mention, in this regard, Macaulay Committee was constituted. In this regard, Macaulay Committee was constituted. Committee was constituted. Then mention, to create the scheme and syllabus of exam. To create the scheme and syllabus of exam. Syllabus of exam. Done? Then mention. A paragraph change karo and write a note. Mention, Satyendranath Tagore was the first Indian. Satyendranath Tagore was the first Indian to clear this exam in 1864. To clear this exam in 1864. Done? And actually, he is one of the patron from the Tagore family. Rabindranath Tagore's family only. Okay? So, this is what is about this particular part. Okay? We are done with the 1853. Now, after the revolt of 1857, we will be taking up the Government of India Act 1858, Indian Council Act 1861. So, that is in the second part of the syllabus. Abhi, now we are going into the other parts of the British administration. So we have seen acts. Now let's start with the civil services, army and police of the British. Okay? So write a heading, pillars of British administration. Pillars of British administration. Nahi, British East India Company's administration. British East India Company's administration. So this you write as a title. Now understand. So very first is civil services. So write a title, civil services. So civil services, listen, that what exactly meant civil services. So the word civil was used, okay? The word civil was used in the civil services to segregate it from the military functions, okay? Military functions, and basically civil services in the beginning meant revenue services. Okay? So here the word civil is used in the relation with the revenue in the beginning 1773, but बाद में और भी administration, civil administration also became the part of it. Then moreover, when it comes to when did it started? So since the company that since the very beginning in the company there were need of the servants, and these servants were generally associated with the revenue of the company, so they were generally colloquially they were called as civil servants. But in true sense, the real founder of the modern civil services in India was Cornwallis. Okay? So Cornwallis was the real founder of the modern civil services. Now what he has done? So he has brought changes in already existing civil services recruitment in the company. Okay? So company 1773 onwards, you have already seen that what all law and regulations and everything is there. So who initially, before, when Cornwallis became Governor General of Bengal, 1773 to 85, it was Warren Hastings, and 1785 to 93 was Cornwallis. So during the time, this first period, 73 to 85, the civil servants, they are appointed by court of directors. Okay? So they were appointed by court of directors, and since we said कोई exam नहीं होता था, it's a screening process, interview. So obviously it was leading to the appointment of the near and dear ones. ठीक है, nepotism and favoritism. What we call it in Hindi, भाई भतीजावाद. ठीक है, भ्रष्टाचार and so as the भाई भतीजावाद. So their near and dear ones were appointed in the position. Now, why near and dear ones who are appointed? What is most lucrative about the civil services in India? Private trade. We have already mentioned. So private trade was very lucrative. Now, what he did, that when Cornwallis came, so he saw that there was a very high corruption in the company. अब एक बार फिर से थोड़ा सा मेमोराइज करते हैं, ठीक है? लेट्स गो बैक. In 1773 Act, what we have mentioned, that regulating act said that private trade must be banned. But then what we wrote in the analysis, it was continuing. Why so? There was no mechanism to stop the private trade. It continued as it is. Then similarly, we wrote in the 1784 also that corruption in the company continued even after the creation of the board of control, because they themselves also became corrupt. So private trade hasn't stopped. Now when Cornwallis came, so he is looking at it that ki provision to hai that private trade must not continue, but it is continuing. So that's why now you connect. He demanded which power? Overriding power. Okay? Overriding power, so that he can effectively ban the private trade. And after getting the that overriding power, he effectively banned the private trade. So now, एक और चीज है that once he is banning the private trade, suppose you are a civil servant, your income is 1 lakh rupees, your salary is 1 lakh rupees, and 1 lakh rupees you are getting from the private trade. So now you will be not interested in this service. 2 लाख वैसे तुम्हारे हिसाब से तो तुम्हारी इनकम 2 लाख थी, ठीक है? But then now you will be getting only 1 lakh rupees. So you will not be interested in doing the work, and if at all you will be doing, you will not be doing it with integrity. So Cornwallis also recognized this thing, that while on one hand I'm banning the private trade, so motivation will go down. So what he did, on one hand he effectively banned the private trade, on the other hand he raised the salaries of the Indian civil servants, and they became highest paid civil servants in the world. Then so highest paid civil servants in the world. अब ये वैसे ही हो गया that earlier to earn additional 1 lakh, you have to indulge in many practices, overt and covert measure, over the table, under the table, ठीक है? इधर बेच रहे हो, उधर बेच रहे हो. अब वही, ठीक है? वही सामान अगर जो मुफ्त में मिले, वही कमाई, ठीक है? Without doing anything, ठीक है? So कोई ये क्यों ना ले? Then, so that same situation. So now it became more lucrative. That civil services in India became more lucrative because salary इतनी बड़ी हो गई कि अब आराम से चोरी चकारी करने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. So that's what's the change that he has made. Then understand another thing, that there was one more issue. Another issue was the promotions. Okay? So earlier promotions were happening on the whims and fancies of the court of directors. But now Cornwallis laid down a rule that promotion will happen only on the basis of seniority. Okay? So only on the basis of seniority. If somebody has joined a day earlier than you in the services, so he's senior to you, and in promotion he will be taken into the consideration. So that's what's the system that he started. There are other things also we'll mention later. Right. So the word civil was used. The word civil was used to denote the revenue services of the company. Revenue services of the company. Then mention services of the company. Full stop. After it. It was used to differentiate. It was used to differentiate military aspect with revenue aspect. Military aspect from revenue, military aspect from revenue aspect. From revenue aspect. Now you change paragraph and then you mention Cornwallis is regarded as is regarded as creator of Cornwallis is regarded as creator of modern civil services in India. Creator of modern civil services in India. Done? Then mention. When he came to India, he observed companies' civil servants have become highly corrupt. Companies' civil servants have become highly corrupt. Full stop. These civil servants were appointed by court of directors which often led to nepotism and favoritism. Nepotism and favoritism. Nepotism and favoritism. Then mention. Moreover, private trade was also the important reason of corruption. Private trade was also the important reason of corruption. Full stop. On one hand, Cornwallis effectively banned private trade, and on the other hand, he also raised the salaries of Indian civil servants. And they became the highest paid civil servants in the world. Now, so not only this, understand that Cornwallis was also, this is one aspect related to the corruption of the company. Then we'll write about the promotion also, but then understand he was very prejudiced against Indians. Then, so he was very prejudiced. The reason is that he must have encountered or might have encountered some cases of the corruption or corrupt behavior. But then what he did, if he have found 1 or 2% as corrupt, he generalized it. Then, and he made a statement that all the natives of Hindustan are corrupt. Then, so all the natives of Hindustan are corrupt. And it is a kind of, you can say, that double standard. Actually, who were corrupt? Corrupt were the British officials, okay? And due to the private trade. And you are calling Indians as all the natives of Hindustan are very corrupt, as if you have gone to everybody's home and you have checked it, okay? So then whatever be the case, he just wanted to justify that what decision he is going to take. So what decision he has taken? So he Europeanized the Indian civil services, meaning what he did, that he created a law or a rule whereby all the higher post in administration worth £500 annual salary. So all the higher post in administration worth £500 annual salary will be held only by Europeans or basically British, not by Indians. So if at all Indians will be included in services, they will be below 500 salary. Okay? So this is what he has done. Now a question rises that why he was doing this, okay? Why he came up with the policy. So it's not like that all the Indians are corrupt and they could not be serving good in the civil services, but the reason was there was very high demand of Indian civil services in the Britain. So whatever be the positions which were published, उसके कम से कम 100 गुना applications आते थे वहाँ पे, ठीक है? So there was a high enthusiasm in the Britons to come to become the Indian civil servant. That was the one reason. Another reason that Cornwallis felt that at the end of the day, when the British colony has been firmly established, so the British needs or British good will be only served by the British, not by the Indians. At the end of the day, he was of the belief that maybe sometime Indians may become very closer or softer to their native land. So that's how he wanted to keep Indians at an abeyance, and that's why he did not included Indians in the higher civil services. So mention karo that first you write. What is the last line? Civil servants in the world. Okay? Then you write. He also ensured that promotions are happening. He also ensured that promotions are happening on the basis of seniority. Promotions are happening on the basis of seniority. Done? Seniority. हो गया? Then next you write. Paragraph change and then you write. Cornwallis was highly prejudiced against Indians. Cornwallis was highly prejudiced against Indians. And he made a statement that all the natives of Hindustan are corrupt. All the natives of Hindustan are corrupt. Then mention after it. He led to Europeanization of civil services. Europeanization of civil services. Full stop. In 1793, he laid down an official rule. Comma, that all the higher post in administration worth 500 pound salary, annual salary, worth 500 pound annual salary will be held only by the British. Then mention. It was followed probably because of the following reasons. It was followed probably because of the following reasons. Number one, there was high demand and popularity of Indian civil services among the British in Britain. Now mentioned, fine. So among the British in Britain. Number two, Cornwallis thought that Indians don't fit in the British scheme, and they will not serve the British interest. With full integrity. Number three, he was highly convinced that British colonial interest will be better served by British only. British colonial interest will be better served by British only. ठीक है? So this is what is the reason that what he has gone, or what decisions he has taken. Then after, understand one more change that he has brought. So earlier, ठीक है, till 1792, the district collectors, ठीक है, they were revenue officials, but they also enjoyed judicial powers. So he relieved the district collector from the judicial powers, and now they needed to only focus on the revenue administration. So mention karo, Cornwallis also relieved the district collector from his judicial functions. And now he was interested only interested में en लिखना है, in नहीं, ठीक है, interested only for the revenue administration. Then, so listen. So when it comes to this is what is about the Cornwallis. After Cornwallis, not much change was there. 1798, when Wellesley has come, so then he is going to bring some changes, not changes, but he is going to introduce something new. So this question was asked in 2022 prelims, which I'm going to tell you. It was also an easy question. So Wellesley, what he did, that he created a civil servant training college at Fort William, Calcutta. Okay? So at Fort William, Calcutta, and moreover, this decision of the Wellesley was not approved by Court of Directors, and they stopped this college. They created a separate training college at Haileybury, which we have mentioned earlier, okay? In Haileybury in England. Now, what is the reason that why his actions were disapproved? Because they were unhappy with him. The reason, remember, Maratha में क्या discuss किया था? I think you नहीं याद है? See, Napoleon threat, and he was fighting with the Marathas. He was criticized and he was called back to Britain. So actually, British officials were not happy with him that whatever decisions he has taken. It was not a bad decision. of creating the civil servant training college in India, but then just because he was not liked anymore by the court of directors in 1805, so his actions were disapproved, and the college, new college, was created in 1806. So you write, mention karo, paragraph change karke. In 1798, when Wellesley came to India, in 1798, when Wellesley came to India, he decided to create a civil servant training college. He decided to create a civil servant training college at Fort William. Civil servant training college at Fort William, Calcutta. Fort William, Calcutta. Full stop. Then mention. But later, his actions were disapproved by. Court of directors. His actions were disapproved by court of directors, and they created a separate civil servant training college at Haileybury in England. Then that's it. So this is what is there till this point of time. Iske baad koi not much changes are there done, and moreover, there is one more instance that I need to mention, that is the William Bentinck's time, that how he is empowering the hands of the district collector, but will writing it in the police services. Okay? So abhi let's go into the army and then we'll see the police services. So write British Army, so, and see, understand, this is discussion under company administration. Crown ka nahi hum discussion kar rahe hain. It's all before the 1857. So now when it comes to the British Army, so when company came to India, the charter which was given to the company, and charter on 31st of December 1600, Queen Elizabeth gave 15-year charter to the company. What is the charter? Rights and privileges of the company. One of the privilege that if they are opening their enterprise, their trade, commerce in India, it needs protection. So who will be protecting? The part of the British Army. Okay? So one part of the British Army will be coming from the Britain. They will be protecting their enterprise. But it is a small section. Just like, understand, in today's time that there are n number of the enterprises. Okay? Some of them are owned by government and some of them are owned by, a majority of them are owned by the private companies. So for example, suppose karo ki Tata ki a company hai, Tata Motors manufacturing unit in the Gurgaon. So then in that manufacturing unit, security guards are required. Okay? And who serve as a security over there? CISF. Okay? So Industrial Security Force, Government of India one. So Tatas will be paying to the Government of India for that, but then they are protecting. So similarly over here, when the company has created any factory, warehouse over here, so the company will pay for that army, but the army will come from the Britain. Got it? So that is one part of the army. So there were two parts of the British Army. One is called as Queen's Army, and abhi jo definition hum de rahe the, that was the Queen's Army. Then the second is the Troops Army. Company's troop, not Troops Army. So company's troop. So what is company's troop? Basically, this is the troop of the or army of the company which was created in India. It is not coming from the Britain, it was created in India. Then, which will have more number of the soldiers? This one or this one? This one will have more number of soldiers. क्योंकि ये ब्रिटेन से आ रहे हैं तो they will be very less. Then so these are less and these are more. Then understand. We'll come back to Queen's Army. After the creation of the company's troop in India, what was the purpose of the company's troop? Understand? Purpose of the company's troop was basically fighting the war in India. Okay? So they are the one who are fighting the war at different places. Okay? And they are the one who are expanding the territory of the company. Okay? So they are the one who are expanding the territory of the company. And once again, suppose that they have fought in the Bengal हो गया Britain that company का. Then after they will be moving on to Mysore. Then once they have defeated Mysore, they will move on to Maratha. So this is a moving troop. ठीक है? They will not be stabilized at one place and they will be fighting, waging war. In fact, not only in India, the company's troop can be sent to any of the British colony also. Getting it? But what about the Queen's Army? So Queen's Army was the army of occupation. What do I mean by army of occupations? Understand. When the fight has happened between the Sirajud-Dowla and so as the Mir Qasim with the troops army. And then after troops army has been victorious, finally in which battle? Battle of Buxar. So now that army will move on to the another fight in the other area. But then the Queen's Army will be coming over there and they will be sitting in that area. So that is the army of occupancy. And army of occupancy means that it is the ultimate symbol of the British hold over that particular area. So mention, right, that there were two branches of company's army. There were two branches of company's army in India. So side by side लिख लो, ठीक है? Queen's Army and company's troop. Queen's Army and company's troop. इसमें कुछ समझ में नहीं आया? You understood ना? If you haven't understood, because some of you are like this, so I thought that you haven't understood. चलो लिखो, mention करो. So Queen's Army and company's troop. Then first you write about the company's troop लिखो, ठीक है? उसके बाद Queen's Army लिखना. एक division बना लो ना. One side you write Queen's Army, other side you write company's troop, ठीक है? Mention. It was the army of expansion. It was the army of expansion. Army of expansion. Company's troop में लिख रहे हो, ठीक है? It was army of expansion who fought battles in many areas. Who fought battles in many areas. And then mention. It was the biggest branch of company's army. It was the biggest branch of company's army, which mainly included Indians as the sepoy. Indians as sepoy and British as officers. Indians as sepoy and British as officers. Then next you write on the other side Queen's Army. It was the small branch of British Army. It was the small branch of British Army. And it was army of occupancy. It was army of occupancy. It only included Britishers. It only included Britishers, no Indians. It only included Britishers and no Indians. no Indians. Then mention further, it only included Britishers and no Indians, full stop. It was ultimate symbol of British hold over India. It was ultimate symbol of British hold over India. Ultimate symbol of British hold over India. Done. Comparison leave and then we'll talk about the other things. Okay? So listen, that when it comes to the company's troop and Queen's Army, so Queen's Army by the revolt of the 1857 they are hardly 5 to 8%. Okay? And rest of them are the company's troop. But then when we look into the company's troop, so at the time of the revolt of 1857, 86% of the army composition was Indian. Meaning 86% Indian and only 14% British are there. So now the question rises that how handful of British were able to control such a big Indian nature army. So there are many reasons behind it that why they were able to control and they were able to use them all in their own benefit. So एक बार लिखो mention करो paragraph change no table and you are just writing a paragraph. ठीक है? So mention that by the time of 1857 revolt, by the time of 1857 revolt, in the company's army, 86% Indians were there. 86% Indians were there. Then mention. It is very surprising. It is very surprising that how handful of British. It is very surprising that how handful of British were able to control. Handful of British were able to control such a large Indian nature army. Were able to control such a large Indian nature army. Mention following reasons can be cited for it. Cited spelling C-I-T-E-D. Following reasons can be cited for it. Cited for it. So just listen those reasons. First of all, when we talk about the India before 1857, there was no sense of pan-India nationalism at that time. So that's how Indians are not binded by the nationalism. That is one thing. Then, company's army services were open to everyone. Then, particularly Sepoy position. So there was not kind of caste class based discrimination. So people from the lower caste also can go, higher caste can also go. So that's how the Indians were preferring it. And then moreover, it was an employment opportunity, obviously. So Indians are joining it. Then apart from it, there are many such other factors also in this particular part. The other factor is basically that Britishers, though they are maintaining only British officers and sepoys as Indians, but they were very good paymasters, particularly in the beginning. So whatever salary they have promised to the sepoys, it was always paid on time. Okay? So they were good paymasters, and Indians as such, they were proving to be the good mercenary. Then apart from it, there are the factors which are related to the Indian blood itself. That in India, there had been this tradition of loyalty towards salt. ठीक है? हिंदी में क्या बोलते हो? नमक हलाली. ठीक है? So जिसका नमक खाते हैं उसके प्रति loyal रहते हैं. So this tradition was also there in the majority of the people who were there in the company services, that they were loyal to the British till the time British have paid their salary on time. Okay? So that's how British were able to control. Another thing, that British were deliberately keeping all the officers, okay, as British, so that all the important decisions are taken by them, not by the Indians. So कैन यू टेल मी दैट व्हाट इज द रीजन, इससे क्या बेनिफिट होगा? इफ इंडियंस आर केप्ट एट द ऑफिशियल पोजीशन, सो उससे कुछ फायदा नहीं हो सकता है कंपनी को? हाँ, सो आई टेल यू वन सच सिचुएशन, ठीक है? हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव सीन ट्रिपल आर? अ गुड नंबर ऑफ यू, अब याद रखोगे, ठीक है? सो द रोल ऑफ द, ठीक है, व्हाट इज द नेम ऑफ द, सॉरी, रामचरण, नहीं, व्हाट इज द नेम ऑफ द रोल ही वाज प्लेइंग? अल्लू, अल्लू रमना, ठीक है? आई एम फॉरगेटिंग द नेम, ठीक है? सो जो भी नेम, मतलब he was playing the role of the nationalist. Now understand, in the army what he was trying to get, he was trying to get a position, and if he comes to the officer position, so then what he will have? Control on entire artillery. This is where the British were not having the trust on Indians. Then that some of the Indians at some day, if they become that level officers, so they will control the artillery, and then the revolutionary nationalism will be there in India. So that's why deliberately they were not keeping Indians in the official position, and this continued till 1857. But after 57, it became essential to include Indians in the services after the revolt. So mention karo, you write number 1. At that time, there was no spirit of pan-India nationalism. At that time, there was no spirit of pan-India nationalism. Pan-India nationalism. Done? Then mention number 2. It was a good opportunity of employment for Indians. It was a good opportunity for employment of Indians. Employment of Indians as British recruited from all the sections of society. British recruited, it's raining. मुझे सुनाई दे रहा है, ब्रेक ले लो इसके बाद. So recruited from all the sections of society, from all the sections of society. Then Indian society, from all the sections of Indian society, ठीक है? Sections of Indian society, ठीक है? Then next you write, British were good paymaster. British were good paymaster. As such, Indians served as good mercenaries. Indians served as good mercenaries. Then next you write, Indians had the tradition of loyalty towards salt. Loyalty towards salt. Which they kept till their relation was organic with British. Was organic with British. What do I mean organic? Is basically जब दोनों को फायदा हो रहा था, ठीक है, कोई इश्यू नहीं था, तब तक सबसे ठीक था. But 1857 में you will be reading that many issues started to come up from 1850s, and that's how the organic relationship became inorganic. Then, so this is the reason that एक और last लिखो, ठीक है, one last one. All the higher official positions, next point. All the higher official positions were kept for British. so that British can maintain effective control on army. So that British can maintain effective control on army. Effective control on army. So this is what is about the army part. We'll see the police services. break ले लो उसके बाद, ठीक है? So police services of the company. Now understand. So understand that when it comes to the police services, as we all know that it is okay. So it is meant for the law and order administration. Okay? So law and order administration, and moreover there was no nothing like police services before the arrival of the British. Okay? So get it? Okay? Sunte raho, then this is for the purpose. I hope now you must have identified what is the purpose. So almost, what is the class number today? 10th class. अब तक 2 हो जाना चाहिए था, लेकिन this is the beginning. Keep it. I'll tell you that what to do with the paper. घर लेके नहीं जाना है, समोसा चाट के लिए नहीं है. I think it will not be enough. Rahul, इस side भी rest of the. So listen, let them distribute, you listen. So police organization is meant for the law and order administration, and before the advent of the Cornwallis, there was nothing like this. So one can ask a question that if there was no organization for the law and order administration, so how it was managed? So basically in the Mughal times and also before the British rule, it was managed in an ad hoc fashion. Then there were officers, but then there was not an organization of the law and order maintenance. For example, administration के लिए तो मनसबदारी था, but then not for this. So additional responsibility of the law and order were given to the officers. For example, zamindars were interested with the task of maintaining the law and order, particularly in Bengal and wherever the zamindars are there. Then in other areas, some lower level tax collectors who were known as the amils, they were also given the responsibility of the law and order maintenance. Then apart from it, many positions were there where law and order maintenance was their responsibility. So for example, सबसे lowest level पे, गांव के level पे, ठीक है, it was चौकीदार, then who has law and order responsibility. Then after चौकीदार, फौजदार, then so he was also responsible for law and order function. So it was managed in an ad hoc way, not in an organized way. Now when Cornwallis is in India, so he realized that zamindars who were majorly responsible for the law and order administration, there were lacunas in it. And what were the lacunas? So zamindars, what they were doing, that zamindars in their respective areas, they were maintaining troop of thanedars. So they were maintaining troop of thanedars, and some places these thanedars were also called as lathedar. So why lathedar? Because they are carrying the lathis. Then, so they were the one who were maintaining the law and order. But Cornwallis noted it down. ठीक है, एक हिंदी में there is a phrase रक्षक ही भक्षक, and that was actually very much applicable over here. So the zamindars and the thanedars who were responsible for the law and order administration maintenance, they were the one who were giving free hand to the dacoits. So they were giving free hand to the dacoits to loot the people and the villages and the towns. And from this loot amount, they shared. Okay? So there was sharing. So now, अभी आज के टाइम पे तो ऐसा नहीं होता है, ठीक है? But then I have a very controversial case मैं बताऊंगा तुम लोगों को, ठीक है? मतलब not everyone in police organization is like this, ठीक है? And it's not blame about the police organization, but I want an answer. Answer is, the question is that when we were preparing, to Mukherjee Nagar was the major center of the UPSC preparation. So 60% of the people used to live over there, Mukherjee Nagar, and 40% in the old Rajendra Nagar. So we used to live in a colony, ठीक है? That colony is in front of the metro gate itself. Then 11 gates are there. और हमारी colony के बगल में, ठीक है? पुलिस स्टेशन, मुखर्जी नगर पुलिस थाना, ठीक है, and the biggest police thana, and the highest number of the student laptops were stolen from the that colony itself, जहाँ पे पुलिस स्टेशन है. तो मुझे आज तक समझ में नहीं आया कि वहीं से क्यों चोरी होता था. एंड वी यूज्ड टू आस्क इन द अदर एरियाज ऑफ द मुखर्जी नगर कि तुम लोग यहाँ से होता है. नहीं, मेरा खुद का 2 बार चोरी हुआ है, इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ. So, and one friend of mine who actually wanted to keep the IAS at the first position, his laptop, he got a laptop, he was in the software industry and his friend was coming from US, he got a laptop of at that time 70,000 rupees, and then आने के 1 महीने के अंदर चोरी हो गया. And he was filling his DAF form, he changed it to IPS. He got it, and he got his laptop also. Yes, so he got his laptop also, 1 साल बाद मिला. But then when he came into the services, तो वही मुझे भी पूछना है कि वो हमारा तो कॉलोनी बगल में ही था, हमारे यहाँ क्यों चोरी होती थी. तो anyways, now come to this part. So that he relieved the zamindars. So then when Cornwallis got to know that zamindars were the one who were responsible for it, so he relieved the zamindars from the law and order function, and then he decided to create a police organization. So he was the creator of the police organization. So how he proceeded in this aspect? So he created that districts he divided into many circles, and the circles were known as thana. Then one Indian person was appointed as in charge of thana, and he was known as daroga. So position of daroga. Then so he divided districts into many circles, and circles came to be known as thana, okay? And the Indian person was appointed as the in charge, who was known as daroga. And then moreover, at the district level, he created office of SP, superintendent of police. So superintendent of police, and that's what the system he started. Moreover, you must not be confused, here circle does not mean geometric circle, okay? It is a term. Circle का मतलब term है, ठीक है? थाना. तो थानेदार नाम नहीं था, दरोगा था. This could be confusing. So officer was here. Then this system continued for a longer period of time. But when William Bentinck has come to power, so he changed the system. And what he did, that he abolished this office of SP at the district level, and he gave the charges of district, that law and order maintenance or charges of the SP, to district collector. So now this is what we are calling as a centralization, कि district collector के हाथ में more power. Then so earlier it was that district collector didn't had the law and order power, but now he is enjoying the law and order power also. So mention karo, you write. Mention in the pre-British India, law and order was maintained in ad hoc manner, Then mention there were many officers who were responsible for law and order function, Then mention responsible for law and order function, full stop. For example, at village level, chowkidar, faujdar, and amils. Chowkidar, faujdar, and amils. Full stop. Then mention. Next one. In zamindari areas, zamindars were responsible for law and order function. Law and order function. Then mention. आगे लिखो. Zamindars needed to maintain, or zamindars maintained a troop of thanedars. Zamindars maintained a troop of thanedars for the purpose. A troop of thanedars for the purpose. Then mention. Cornwallis noted that very often these thanedars gave free hand to dacoits. Free hand to dacoits who looted the villages, towns, and they shared the loot with zamindars. Then mention. They shared the loot with zamindar. Cornwallis relieved zamindars from law and order function. And decided to create the police organization. For the purpose. Then mention. Paragraph change karo and then you mention. He divided districts into many circles. Known as Thana. Then mention. At Thana, one Indian person was appointed as in charge. Who was known as Daroga. You are all are listening to it. It's rare in Delhi. Actually, अब rare हो गया, ठीक है. So just like endangered species, वैसे ही endangered rain in Delhi. And you know that what is this smell? It's a bacteria, ठीक है? Which when the rain falls, so it releases a chemical, and actually the chemical is known as petricol. So it is the smell of the petricol which fills the air, and it's so good. Have you ever thought about it? The smell of the soil. It's actually very enchanting. So you're right. याद रखना कभी एग्जाम में ये भी पूछ ले that what is this smell, ठीक है? So it's the smell of bacteria petrichol, and then the chemical which it releases petricol. Then so आगे लिखो, mention करो. What do you have written? Daroga. Then you write at the district level. He created office of SP. At the district level, he created office of SP. Superintendent of police पूरा लिखो, ठीक है? Created office of superintendent of police. Superintendent of Police. Then, so this is the system which he initiated. Then change paragraph and write about what William Bentinck has done. So mention, later in 1833, William Bentinck abolished office of SP, and gave the charges of SP to district collector. Gave the charges of SP to district collector. In fact, आगे आने वाले topic में, when we are going to talk about the judiciary, so there also will mention that district collectors, even judicial charges, once again they were given to them. So actually today that IAS ka jo that aura which is there and that particular power which was given to the IAS officer, that comes from the time of the William Bentinck. Then he made them so powerful that there was a one phrase which was very popular in the society at that time, that district collectors are the mai baap of the district. This is what is British were using, mai baap. What is mai baap? Mother, father, ठीक है? Parents, ठीक है? So not in other way. So so this is what they used to say. And British were very smart in this regard. So district collector had that immense power to decide many things in the district. So this is what is about abhi yahan tak, theek hai? So now the paper that has been given to you, that is for the question, theek hai? And very first thing you do, abhi main question nahi likh raha hu, just write your registration number, right. I'll tell you what all things to be written. Write your registration numbers. याद नहीं है? नाम तो लिखो, वो तो याद होगा. पहले नाम लिख लो, ठीक है? Then assignment code I'm giving you. Assignment code, what you write when you are exercising any question at home. So it is 93985. Is it right, Ritesh? Assignment code दे दो मेरे को. 93985, I think. I'll give you. Question अभी लिख रहा हूँ, but first you write these much. Because बाद में फिर तुम लोग लिखते नहीं हो. Name, registration, then we'll check. Chalo. So I'm writing the question. 93985. So this is your assignment code. ये भी लिखो. So now the question I'm writing. Question is, so now I have made the question easier. ठीक है? To discuss how British got benefits from it. ठीक है? So now the question, acha, there are 3 assignment codes. 2 assignment codes. So one for the, so this is the assignment code for RB8, R8, and second for PFB6, it is 93996. So what is this PFB? अच्छा, ओ, तुम लोग जब बच्चे थे तभी पढ़ने आ गए थे। 93996 ये। सो दोनों असाइनमेंट चेंज कर लेना, एंड RB8 वाले ऊपर वाला असाइनमेंट, एंड देन PFB6 दिस असाइनमेंट. So now 18th century India was beset with the spectre of the fragmented polity. Discuss how British got benefits from it. Then, so second part I have made it easier then, and moreover, since it is the very first question, so I am giving you 12 minutes देता हूँ, ठीक है? We'll see. I'll give you 12 minutes for it, and maximum that you can write is 200 words. उससे ज़्यादा नहीं लिखना. 200 words इसमें हो जाएगा आराम से, उससे थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो सकता है, ठीक है? एंड इट इज़ अ 10 मार्कर क्वेश्चन, 10 मार्क्स. सो आई स्टार्ट द स्टॉप वॉच, एंड स्टॉप वॉच के बंद होते ही वी विल कलेक्ट योर कॉपीज, ठीक है? So since it is the first question, I have given you 12 minutes, but otherwise in exam situation, you have only 8.5 minutes. उससे ज़्यादा नहीं मिलता है. So I am starting the stopwatch. लिख लिया? कुछ अगर जो कुछ पूछना हो इसमें तो पूछ सकते हो before I am starting the stopwatch. कोई word जो नहीं समझ में आ रहा है? Anything? Beset, I know that. ठीक नहीं. So Beset is basically इसका मतलब होता है in a negative way. So the 18th century India was in a negative way affected with the spectre of fragmented polity, ठीक है? So what is spectre? Meaning that जहाँ देखो वहाँ पे fragmented polity, ठीक है? So you need to identify that what is the fragmented polity we are referring about, and how British got benefits from it. ये easy question है. Second part जो मैंने add किया है इसकी वजह से easy हो गया. Generally what happens that यहाँ पे ये part mention नहीं होता है. And you need to write this part itself, ठीक है? Not only this, but also this part in this answer. So go ahead with it. So now I'm starting the stopwatch. So you have 12 minutes. Your time starts now. Whatever you have studied till this date, उसी में से पूछा है मैंने, ठीक है? just go back ना कि what we are talking about 1707 से 1800 के बीच में what has happened. Don't see your copies. I'll give you one open book question also some other day. जितना मन करे उतना कॉपी किताब खोल के देख लेना, मिलेगा नहीं आंसर. Eight minutes over, last 4 minutes. Done. Wait, I'm coming. Give your seat to me. Last 1 minute remaining. Finish it. Wait. Now it will be collected. Now I cannot evaluate. अब तो फिर पूरी क्लास का evaluation का time आ गया. You will have to do it very fast. Then only I will be evaluating. No. Now time has crossed because they are not there. Otherwise मैं collect कर लेता. Just 1 minute. So please give your copies, all of you. अपनी copies दे दो सब लोग. एक साथ कई लोग कलेक्ट कर लो एंड देन गिव इट टू हिम, ठीक है? जस्ट कलेक्ट इट ना फ्रॉम वन साइड, गिव इट टू मी. फ्रॉम दिस साइड ऑल ऑफ यू कलेक्ट एंड गिव इट टू मी. ऑल ऑफ यू. क्विकर कलेक्शन कैन हैपन. मुझे दे दो. दैट साइड ऑल्सो, वो भी पास ऑन कर दो. गुड. So now listen. See, the answer would be uploaded today itself. Check कर लेना एक बार assignment में. And since this was the assignment code of today's assignment, which is generally given to you to write at home, so already you have written in the class. So I would say one thing, that once you are looking at the answer which will be uploading, एक बार फिर से घर पे लिखने की कोशिश करना. कुछ लोग क्वेश्चन नहीं समझ पाए हो, ठीक है, और बेसिकली you didn't give a food of thought that what we are asking about. It's not about today's class, it was about last 10 classes that what we have studied. So बाद में मुझे अभी नहीं बताना that what you have written, I'll see that what you have written actually. एक बार copy evaluate होने दो and then we'll further tell you that who has done well in this. But understand, we are what we have talked about. What is the question all about? अब इसको फिर से दोबारा घर जाके सोचना. Question is that the 18th century India was beset with the specter of fragmented polity. Discuss. Actually question यहीं तक है, मैंने ये add कर दिया. How British got benefit from it. So this was the question which was asked in 2017 mains done, and pat yourself that you have written a mains question. ठीक है? Now the question is about that what is fragmented polity. Before 18th century till the 1707, India was under one central authority, and that central authority was Aurangzeb. After his death, the fragmentation is happening. Two types of the states have emerged: successor state and rebellious state. Okay? Successor are basically by their own nobles who have their own aspirations, and because of the not so strong rule of the later Mughals, and their characters were also not very defining. Then, so that has led to the emergence of the two type of the states. And rebellious state, you are talking about the different other states like Mysore, Maratha. But at the same point of time, this fragmentation has led to the erosion of the common unity, and that's how one by one British are chasing all of them, and then also they are reading their weaknesses, and accordingly there are many things they have incorporated like divide and rule, ठीक है, by provoking them, by bringing them in many policies. Subsidiary alliance भी mention कर सकते थे, ठीक है, false assurances, and that's how they got benefit from it. So this is what you needed to write, and मतलब I evaluated first question. First was Himanshu, who raised his hand, and he completed in a quick time, and actually you have written a very beautiful answer. So rest of the answers अब देखने पे पता चलेगा. मुझे time दो, I'll see. Once it is evaluated, I'll see, and then I'll get back to you. ठीक है? And one more thing. लिख के कैसा लगा ये बताओ. अच्छा लगा. See, it is important. In this exam, it is very important that you must be writing. क्योंकि लिखने से क्या होता है ना, that you get to know that what you have written, and at the same point of time, that your refining in your language is also happening. So refinement in your language, and also discussion of the question. अब ज़्यादा नहीं बोलूँगा, मेरे पास अभी words नहीं है फिलहाल के लिए, तो let it get evaluated. Wait for today's night. We'll be uploading the answer. तो एक बार देख के फिर वापस से लिखना. जिन लोगों ने आंसर कुछ और लिखा है, ठीक है, you need to write it once again. ठीक है? So अगर जो इस लाइन पे आंसर नहीं लिखा है तो प्लीज राइट इट अगेन. ठीक है, दोबारा से उसको सबमिट कर देना. आई विल इंश्योर यू दैट इट विल बी रीवैल्यूएटेड. ठीक है, चलो. सो थैंक यू, मिलते हैं कल रेस्ट ऑफ द टॉपिक के साथ.